I want to teach you how to use this crazy thing right here, known as a peanut roller, because it looks kind of like a peanut at least. And if you don't have one of these, you can easily buy it today at basically any gym or fitness store or sports store. But you can also make your own by simply taping two tennis balls or lacrosse balls together to form this type of peanut thing. And the idea behind this thing is to use something known as myofascial release on yourself, which is a form of therapy to improve your recovery. Because you might have noticed that you have stiff spots in your body. And sure, stretching is good, mobility work is good, but sometimes you need to use different tools to improve your range of motion and your performance. Just to quickly tell you about the idea behind it. So you have this sheet of connective tissue surrounding your muscles throughout your whole body. And this fascia, as it's known is it Latin? Yeah, I think so. Actually has more nerve connections with the brain than your actual muscles do. Which means that simply by working your fascia, you can improve your techniques and your performance a lot, and especially your well-being and health. A common reason that you might need to work with this is because you've had a trauma or an injury, so you have a stiff spot because of that. Or you have muscular imbalances, for example, or simply overtraining and overuse, which in my case is the reason a lot of times for using this, right? Because I practice a lot of karate, and I'm sure many of you guys do too. So, a great idea when you want to start using this is to start with testing. Then you use it, and then you retest to see if it actually works, or if it's just some hype, right? So we're going to start from big going to small. I will just put this on the floor here, and I want you to start with a simple basic test to see your thoracic spine mobility. I want you to stand with your feet together this way, and then all you do from here, just relax your arms and then rotate, twist as much as you can and look behind you. And back. That's it, and twist. So you don't want to move your whole body. Your feet kind of hold your hips in this frontal position. Of course, your hips will twist a little, but the point is to twist from your thoracic spine and not from your lower spine, right? Your lumbar, because you have around 40 degrees of rotation in each direction up here, and we want to see if you can actually express that full range of motion. And you can have a friend behind you checking, because you want this shoulder to go all the way past the midline as you go back, and this shoulder when you go this way, right? So you test, you check both sides and see, do you need to work on your thoracic spine mobility? Is it stiff? If yes, then we start working with this thing right here, the peanut roller. And so in 9 times out of 10, you will need to do this, because most of us don't really have a lot of room or flexibility up here. So you put it like that. Imagine your spine goes straight here between the 2 balls. And then these 2 balls will basically be rolling along my spine just by the muscles. So I'm not going for the skeleton or the actual spine, even though that's not dangerous at all, because we're not doing anything with a high load or intensity. And then arms this way, or in the beginning, if this is too painful, just support yourself lightly on the ground, this way. And elevate your hips for more pressure. But it's important to not go too hard in the beginning, especially if you haven't done this before, because your body has this instinctive reflex to just tense up if it senses too much pain in the muscles, right? So you need to go gradually, baby steps. So we start slowly, simply by rolling. I have a lot of delayed onset muscle soreness from my national team training camp this weekend, so this really hurts in my case. And all we do is roll up and down, and I want you to make your back round. That's why we hold our hands like this or like this. And roll. All you do is lift your hips back and forth and move them this way using your legs. Simple. And then the question, of course, is how long? Well, usually for your tissues to adapt because you want the physiological state of your tissue to actually change, and you will feel kind of like a melting sensation. Might take 2 to 3 minutes. So a good way to do this would be 20 to 45 seconds in sets of 3, for example. That should do the trick most of the time. And then after that, you just stand up and you retest. You retest. And just, that quick session right there, I can already feel it, at least on one side, because I don't have a perfect balance in my body like most of us don't, right? Okay, next, we're done with that. Now like I said, we move from the big to the small. So now we start looking at some other spots of the body, still working with the upper body though. Next test. I want you to reach back behind your back with one arm, and the other hand goes above from the opposite side and try to touch your fingertips. Could you see that? I touched. Great. Now I try the other side, same thing. One hand here, other hand here. That was way easier for me, which again tells me that my body is not in a perfect balance, which is natural. And some of you might have a very easy time reaching, which perhaps means that you have too much movement freedom. Maybe you need to work on some strength instead of some mobility and flexibility. Or you can't even reach and touch your own fingers, which means that either you need to work on this part right here, so you test them now individually. How far can you go? One, all right, I get up here. And the other, maybe I only get here. All right, so that tells me I need to work here with the peanut roller, right? Which is why we do the test, to know what to work on. And then we can test the other part, which was this arm, right? So I see how far I get. Just one arm now. And then I try the other. Maybe I can't get further than this, right? Obviously, you saw that I could touch. I'm just faking my stiffness right now, just to show you guys what to work on. And if this doesn't go any further, maybe I need to release my lats right here, right? So I would be working with the peanut roller for that part of the body. And that's the whole purpose of these different tests that you can do. And any physiotherapist can do any of these tests on you, or you can do them on yourself, just like we did right now. You don't have to be a professional. But of course, don't do anything stupid. So, next, you could roll here. You could roll here, like we just did with the test. But what I want to do now is show you something that I use a lot personally, that I find very helpful, which is more karate specific. Because if you do a lot of techniques with your arms especially, you tend to get tight just by the shoulder blade, the scapula. And a great way to massage that specific spot is this. So instead of putting the peanut roller in this direction, we now switch it to this direction instead. Because the scapula is like this super big area here, and we want to roll kind of the whole edge of the scapula. And it's hard for me to point because I can't really reach, but I hope you get the point. So I will now just simply lie down right here and start working that. And for this, it's difficult to roll my whole body. And it might actually be better, in this case, for example, to simply lie down on the peanut roller and now move my arm instead of moving my body. So we're using a different concept. I'm lying here. I can feel the spot just by the edge of my scapula, my shoulder blade. And now from here, I move my arm. But I keep constant pressure on the exact same spot and feel the different corners of the joint. In all of these different positions, no matter where on the body or what you do, you need to try to relax and breathe into the movement. You want your body to adapt to the pressure. Other side. Again, not this way now, but this way. Shoulder blade. Find the corner, the edge. Apply pressure. Lift your hips if you want more pressure. and then start moving. And you might want to make funny faces in the beginning, but see if you can act as if it's not a big deal, okay? Trick your body into believing that this is perfectly fine and I'm comfortable with being discomfortable, right? Because this is not comfortable. Okay. Then, a great combination if you're using the peanut roller or a foam roller or just a regular tennis ball or a lacrosse ball is to combine it with stretching. So now I will stretch the exact same part by grabbing, internally rotating, grabbing the outside edge of my foot, and then I try to kick my foot out to let it pull the back right across my body, exactly where I use the peanut roller. So I combine, I stretch, and then I can roll. I smash right into the area, and I stretch. So I do the stretches between the rolling, which multiplies the effect a lot. Trust me, you have to try it yourself. Another great area, continuing, is now for the lower body. Your lower body, especially the hips, tend to get stiff with a lot of karate practice. And of course, we're going to start with some testing. Basic tests for the lower body. Something that is perhaps easier to do with a friend. Number one, see how far you can get your knee up without lifting your passive leg, right? This should be relaxed. And of course, you can try to pull yourself, but then I want you to see if you can feel any noticeable difference. See how far you can get without lifting that. Good. And then straight legs, same thing. Now we engage more of the hamstring, right? If this starts lifting, that's my limit. And switch, same thing. See how far you get. Now generally, if you would like to work on your hamstrings, a foam roller would be easier or better. But now we're going to work with this, so we're going to do some alternatives. Because the next is to see if you let your leg fall down. Again, it's easier with a friend, but you can do it on your own. Just let it fall down. See if it gets to the ground. Switch. See how far it gets. It doesn't touch the ground. I'm tighter. I need to work with the peanut roller here, for example. Basic, easy tests you can do. Now, we roll. Outside of the hip, right up here. And you can do the exact same thing on the outside back of the shoulder, because the shoulder joint and the hip joint is super similar actually. So we start rolling here. Straight leg, bent leg. This leg right here, the bent leg, pushes me back and forth until I find the right spot. And I can even lift my body using my straight leg this way instead of simply relaxing like that. Depends on how I want to distribute the pressure, my weight, right? Same thing there. See if you can go 20 to 45 seconds times 3. And then switch to the other side. Same idea. Support yourself on the elbow. And remember to not make funny faces unless you really have to. Good. Inside, here, might be harder. And actually, it might even be easier to just use your own elbow and smash and floss all the way here. But if you want to use the peanut roller, you can use it like that and put a weight on it. For example, if you have a kettlebell or something heavy. Or you can even put it in this direction and apply pressure just by leaning your body over. And then instead of rolling it, because when you hold it like this, you can't really roll it. You push and then you relax and contract your whole leg. I am squeezing and now I'm relaxing. And as I relax, I exhale, I lean over and I push the peanut roller in. I contract, I squeeze my muscles and I relax my muscles and just let it sink in. And I gradually work myself upstream, downstream for the whole inside of my thigh. And then lastly, we have the front of the hip flexor, which is commonly maybe the tightest spot in the hip, right? And for that, Again, we're gonna combine the stretch with the peanut roller. And I want you to come over here, because this might actually be easier to do against a wall. All of these exercises that I've been showing you can be done against the wall instead of the ground. Starting from the very first exercise. Remember the thoracic spine right here. This is less pressure. The ground gives me the added pressure of gravity. So it might actually be easier for many of you. If you haven't done this before, just start here. And remember to have a rounded back, right? So, but now, back to the hip. If you can find some type of corner, it's easier and more stable. All you do is now, again in this direction, push it in. Just to the left on the inside of your hip, because you want to get to the psoas, which goes all the way here, connects to the lower part of your back. And then all we do is push the hip in, relax, and try to sink in. Again, like we just did on the ground, you contract, pushing with the glutes, and then relax. Now, you're not going to be able to see much, but the point is not what it looks like, but what it feels like for me in this case. And then the other side, of course. But then, like I said, we combine it with the stretch. So, you can just put it down on the ground, and you do a basic, simple hip stretch. You push against the wall, and simply try to get your hip by tilting it this way, posterior pelvic tilt, and make it longer. If you want, you switch. You hold the wall with the other hand, and you go across and reach for the other shoulder with the same side hand. This way. And then we go back to here. And then we combine them. Back and forth until we get the desired result, and we can retest and see how much we improved our range of motion. And that's it for today. It was a pretty long video, pretty advanced stuff, but also pretty easy and basic stuff depending on your level. I suggest that you get yourself one of these peanut rollers and get started, and thank me later. Train hard, good luck, have fun, and enjoy the pain.